Thank you for joining me on this episode of The Shortcut Podcast, a show about the long and short of the filmmaking process. I met Ramon Menon at Cinequest, downtown San Jose's premier film festival, and he invited me to watch his short film, Virgin, one of the most innovative and unexpectedly scary films I've seen in a long time. Virgin is a haunted house telling of the Virgin Mary story, surprisingly accurate in its portrayal and, like its creator, quite unique. Ramon graciously sat down with me to discuss his process and the trials and tribulations involved in turning one of the most well-known events in history into a ghost tale of quite literally biblical proportions. I'd like to point out that unfortunately I had some equipment issues on this episode, and one of the microphones cut out, so I have been doing my best to clean it up with AI, and a big thank you to Adobe for their wonderful tools. But as both myself and the software are not magic, please excuse any glitches that may pop up. And with that, please enjoy the show.
I know. I would have worn the suit that I had to. I had to check out for my Airbnb.
That I would have had to wear a suit and was been all sort of.
It's okay. No. I generally like to wear the suit so it makes up for the face.
It makes up for the. I don't know. I think you had a pretty good face.
No, I think it's. I appreciate the kindness too. No, I don't. I know my mother was heckling me in the womb, so. It's rough.
I don't know. It's been interesting. We I guess mentioned I interviewed a couple of the folks doing some of the AI films the other day, and their outlook on it wasn't nearly as bleak as some of my colleagues, which it's nice to hear because I had a couple of colleagues that were just like, "F AI, I'm not."
Yeah.
I'll never touch that, and I'm like, it kind of sounds like somebody from 2005 being like, "I'll never shoot on digital film."
Yeah.
Right. Well,
And
digital
sound and and
I'll never, and then you go back 50 years, I'll never move the camera. I'll just keep it on tripod. Like, no, yeah.
there's no way.
Yeah.
No.
The industry changes, it evolves.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
Well, let's get started. Let's jump in. Welcome back to The Shortcut. I'm your host, Chris Greganese, and with me today is Ramon Menon.
Hello.
An amazing filmmaker I just met at Cinequest. Ramon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here. Thank you very much, Chris, for having me on. I really appreciate it. I'm a filmmaker I'm originally from India, and I am now based in LA, and I make horror.
Okay. So that's a pretty good start. You said you were a producer when we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
In your day job, if you will. So you're within the industry.
Yeah.
It's a full-time industry gig for you.
Yeah.
How often do you get to direct?
So I would say it's been more frequent in the last 3 years. That's when I've really decided to go for it and say it's time to make movies and be proactive, because that's the whole point of why I wanted to.
I think that's
The strategy. I'm a control freak and an egomaniac as well, so I think directing's the right game.
Okay. So what made that change of heart? Where why push now? What happened there?
I think it was watching a whole bunch of people during COVID making those they're very contained horror movies, and it's not like I didn't do it before, but something about that saying that they just went ahead and did it. There was a movie called Host that was on Shudder. It was all like a Zoom seance movie, and I think when I saw that, I was like, okay, you have no excuse. These people made a pretty scary movie, and it was bonkers. They had people set on fire, flying and being thrown into pools, and they had serious jump scares, and I mean, it's shameful how good it is and how much I feel like I need to learn.
Okay. All right. So horror, what got you into horror? Why horror?
I was always into it. I feel like the scariest thing I saw was my own face, and then I was just like, you know what? It's obviously like this is a career path I think that you need to take. I liked stories like, like my dad and my grandmother would tell us stories when I was young about, like Red Riding Hood, but it'd be like the most fucked up version of Red Riding Hood, or like, and then my dad would tell us about like a local Indian ghost, like the myths. So
Yeah.
there's a ghost named Mohini, was this woman in white who would show up when you're driving alone in the road at night,
Okay.
and bad things happen, and it just set off like my imagination
Okay.
in ways that I was not ready for. And I think I walked into my dad watching The Evil Dead, and there was like chainsaw scene in Scarface, and so I started watching that, and then I saw him watching the Amityville Horror scene with priest is in the bathroom with flies, and I was like, I know I shouldn't be watching this, and I'm shit scared, but I'm intrigued.
Well, I mean, it's really obvious. It's in your blood, clearly. You come from a horror family, basically. Dad was watching all of that.
Well, he was watching other stuff too, like even like Django, the original Django with Franco Nero.
Yeah.
The guy was dragging around a coffin. I was always kept more interested in the horror imagery within these movies. Like Scarface is a gangster movie.
Yeah.
I was into the chainsaw bit.
Yeah.
I saw Django and I saw the coffin being dragged, and I was just like, that's scary. See, he was watching all sorts of movies. Like, we were watching like, movies with Alan Delon and all that. So now that has horror, but
Movie buff movies in your blood.
yes, he's like my Pauline Kael. Like he's the critic that says like you gotta watch Duck Soup and forget Charlie Chaplin. So he has very strong opinions, and I feel like I've become a little bit of an egomaniacal film cinephile about it. It's quite pompous.
We're pompous.
Yeah, my mother never agreed with him showing us any of this stuff.
Well, I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
As I've seen some of your stuff, and it clearly influenced it. I mean, you mentioned Evil Dead in there, and one of the most visceral comments I had internally to myself while watching your piece the other day was, God, this feels so much like Evil Dead. I love it. I love it so much. There's clearly an influence there.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like we had another movie that was done right before this called My Scary Indian Wedding, which actually comes out on Alter, the horror platform on YouTube today.
Okay.
That was about a cursed bridesmaid that has to track down and marry her soulmate because she's being chased. She'd be hunted by a demon because she's cursed. And, and all takes place during her best friend's wedding, has Indian superstitions. It's very influenced by like Drag Me to Hell stylistically.
Yeah.
And I was at a theater in Los Angeles. We were watching the Mad Mad World on 70mm. And I turned around and I was like, hey, it's Sam Raimi, who was behind me. And he was just sitting there. And then Tarantino was in the same theater. But so everyone was crowding around Tarantino. And I was like, no one gives a shit about Raimi. I'm going to go talk to Raimi immediately. Because he's my, big influence. And I was right before shooting this movie, The Scary Indian Wedding.
Okay.
I went up and told him, I said, Mr. Raimi, big fan. I have a PDF of the script that I'm going to make that's very influenced by your style. Can you please bless it? And he said, blessed. Now fuck off.
Yeah. Right. I'm watching a movie, leave me alone.
Yeah. So he's very kind though. So we have definitely highly influenced by Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Simple Plan is one of my all-time favorites.
That's fantastic. I think I grew up with a friend who was even more of a movie buff than me, and his opinions really mattered to me, and he was such a pusher of Sam Raimi stuff to me.
Nice.
And I think there's so many of his movies that come to mind, and I'm of course I'm blanking on half the names of them right now. but he was also how I discovered Bruce Campbell.
Yeah.
Of course. He was one of my absolute all-time favorite actors. So anyway, let's talk about your movie, Virgin. That was the one I just saw.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to going and watching my
Scary Indian.
I almost said big fast scary.
A lot of we can't fuck with you on purpose. It's
So my scary Indian wedding. That sounds awesome. Is there like a touch of comedy to that, or is it?
There is definitely like some black comedy.
Okay.
And that's because I made that movie. This movie Virgin was a reaction to that, because I would go to the theater and watch that movie with people, and they were scared, and then they were laughing, and I was just like, you know what? I want to make one movie where it do no fucking laughing.
There was no laughing at all in this. So Ramon's movie Virgin it's a short thriller. It takes place in biblical times. I'll go ahead and let you describe it. It was sorry to anyone else watching who was there that night. It was the best film in that block. It hands down. I was blown away. So tell us a little bit about Virgin.
Thank you very much for the kind words. So Virgin it's a horror movie about the birth of Jesus Christ. It's the nativity story told as a haunted house movie.
Yeah.
And it's set in biblical times, 1 day BC, literally.
Yeah.
And it's all in Aramaic. So the reason we did it in Aramaic is just to ground the movie, because we're doing the haunted house version of the biblical nativity.
I'll say doing it in Aramaic, I feel like actually added to the tension. Yes, we had to do some subtitle reading, but it really, something about the way that language is spoken, the way it was delivered by those two actors, really added a bit to the creep factor. And I think part of it might be the fact that you're unfamiliar, and now you're even more unfamiliar because you don't know the language. So that was amazing. What went into that? I mean, how did it even come to your mind?
Because I grew up in India in a mixed religion household, and I went to Catholic school, and they asked me, what religion are you? I said, I have no idea. And literally, I didn't even understand the concept of religion. And then I went back home and asked my mom, and she said, well, his family's Hindu. Your dad has like Catholics. They're Christian. So when I went back to school, I asked them, hey, what happens if I'm Hindu? What happens if I'm Christian? They said, if you're Hindu, you can go play with these kids and the Muslims and all of them and have fun for about 2 hours. And I said, and if we're Christian, you have to go kneel in a chapel for about 2 hours and pray, as I'm Hindu. It's posh.
That's that's why I came from a mixed religion family. My mother's Jewish, my father is Christian.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of that playing in my upbringing as well.
Exactly. So when I was growing up, I could never tell what religion, so I kind of absorbed a lot of everything.
Yeah.
And so in Catholic school, to tell us stories from the Bible.
Yeah.
And I always thought it always sounded horrific. It always sounded like
Really?
creepy horror tales. Yeah. Of course, there's all morals to it and all of that, but it always sounded like epically horrific.
Yeah.
And the idea that even when I would look up like illustrated woodworks of Gustave Doré and stuff, it looks creepy as hell. Like that is some imagery that, that's Lovecraftian. That is the best, like, kind of the original horror tone.
Yeah.
I mean, Old Testament stuff.
That stuff is in the fire and the brimstone, and there's a lot of there's a lot of like incest stuff. And weird sex stuff and stoning and and possession and stuff like, I thought another influence, I don't know if it was in there or not, but one of the things made me think of was The Exorcist, and not even the original Exorcist, but the remakes, or not I guess the prequels they made about 20 years ago.
Yes. You're talking about the Paul Schrader Exorcist at the beginning.
Yeah, actually, yeah. And just the slow, I thought the first one was, because I think two of them came out, and the first one was the one that really piqued my interest, where he did a really good job of what it might actually be like, or portraying what it might be like if something was slowly influencing your brain and manipulating you, turning you into something different. And I felt there's a lot of that with your Yusuf character, which I really enjoyed. I actually talked to somebody afterwards, and she said, "Well, I don't know. There's a lot of like violence against women." And I said, "Well, there's only two characters. One's a man and one's a woman. So it's kind of hard. If there's going to be violence against one of them, it happened to be a woman." But I thought it was very true to the times and the way the Bible's written about stuff like that, which women do kind of come under fire very heavily. And there's almost what I would say a lot of excusing of male violence to the idea of a possession or the devil's influence or things like that. And it felt very palpable to me that there's almost a moral involved in your script. I don't know if you even met that, but there's a level of like ethics in there that was to me, it was like, I love this.
Yeah. No, it's like to that point, just because we don't show the violence against women in movies doesn't mean that disappears in real life.
Yeah.
You know? So are we going to address that Mary at the time was probably amazingly afraid if this is, well, fact.
Yeah.
She would have been afraid because what would have happened to her is she would have been stoned to death in public for being considered an adulterous woman.
Yeah.
And because she was already Joseph's fiance, and that was as good as a marriage at that time.
Yeah.
It's just that you have to go through like a year, like a period of like the lead up to the actual wedding where the woman preps to get married and the guy goes and learns an occupation to support her.
Gotcha.
So in that period is when Mary came back and told him this. So imagine his reaction to that.
Yeah.
So he has to now have faith in her. He loves her.
Yeah.
Because they're already, engaged. And she loves him, but it's like she's been given this responsibility. So what was going on in his mind?
Yeah.
And technically, she could have been stoned to death. And even it even says in the Bible that there is a point where he thought that he's going to quietly divorce her.
Yeah.
Just to protect her from the society.
Yeah.
So he's like, he's going to go through the wedding, give the very upset. Then he's going to quietly divorce her. And then it says in the Bible that he sees the Archangel Gabriel in a dream. That's what convinces him, okay, no, this is the Son of God.
So you clearly did some research on this. Let's talk about the prep for this. Holy cow, because that was more biblical knowledge than I remember at all from Sunday school. What was the research on this like?
It's very extensive. It's as extensive as you want it to get. You can do a surface reading, and then you could do an extensive reading. I went into it, and even in the Bible, there's the Luke. I mean, again, I keep saying in the Bible. It's not like I'm the most religious person in the world, but I definitely did the reading because I wanted to get this right, or as much as possible.
Yeah. There's some embellishment in there, but
yes, and then take it to my own my fantastical version of it.
A good foundation.
Yes, but it needs the foundation. And so between the Gospel of Matthew and the Gospel of Luke, they're both in the Bible.
Yeah.
And they don't match up.
Yeah.
They don't agree.
Correct.
With certain things. Like there's some variation and then there's some variation. So it's like, it's almost like a Rashomon kind of thing of the truth of like, what is the truth?
Yeah.
And then there's the Gospel of James, which was removed from the Bible in 400 AD.
It's funny you mentioned that. My next project is literally a biblical reenactment from the Gospel of Judas. Which was the gentleman who wrote this is influenced by the Gospel of James and the Racers and that sort of. So sorry, not to interrupt, but that was one of the reasons I was like, oh my God, I got to talk to this guy.
No, it's great. Like anybody who's doing a like biblical story or ancient story from that time, I'm very, very thrilled to talk to because you just learn so much. And I'm still like learning about this book and about that history, and it's fascinating. It's like it's a rabbit hole that you can keep going down, and you don't know. Like it takes a long time to like totally let it all sink in, what it means, story wise, what it means thematically, what it means morals wise, and so there's like the Gospel of James also does not agree with certain narratives. So I'm thinking, like if even the book itself is not consistent,
right?
So it gives us the perfect jumping off point. The way I thought of it was the Dark Knight's movie with the Joker in it, right?
Yeah.
The Joker keeps showing up, and he keeps giving everybody a different origin tale.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that. When I saw that, I was like, oh, that's why this movie is going to be genius, because this Christopher Nolan's saying there is the origin story of the Joker. There was the Tim Burton Joker, but he falls into the acid.
Yeah.
It was the original Joker. But this is my Joker, but I'm going to not tell you.
Yeah.
Where, like, I'm telling you different things, but it could be different origin stories.
Yeah.
And I felt like that's how I wanted to approach this. Like, it's almost like I wanted to make the death metal album version of the Nativity story.
Well, I feel like you really did succeed at that. How much time and effort did this take? As part of this is giving our audience, tips and tricks, if you will, for not tips and tricks, but advice from real filmmakers on what real filmmaking is like. So, how much time, effort, energy, money went into this?
So in terms of time, like, because we were turning this other movie, That Scary Indian Wedding, into a feature, but we're not hitting the budget level that we needed.
Okay.
Like, we were getting good budgets, but I felt like we have to do more like a Saw version of The Scary Indian Wedding.
Yeah.
Can't call a movie can't call a movie Scary Indian Wedding and set it all in a bathroom.
Yeah.
For instance, you see a whole bunch of guests. Indian weddings are like, it's like Woodstock of weddings. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So many people.
Although I will say, I've got a short coming up that involves an Indian wedding where we only see like through the doors that one's going on, and then go to the bathroom, and the whole story's in the bathroom. But
Perfect. See, at least you have the imagination to solve that problem. I unfortunately, I like to long-winded person, as you can see.
no, it's perfect.
So it was in June. I was having dinner and drinks with one of my producer friends, and I was telling him this problem, and he's just like, "Oh, what's the most ridiculous idea that you have that you wanted to make?" And I was like, "Oh, we want to make the Nativity story of the haunted house movie." And he's just like, "Say that movie I'd want to see." And almost like that gave me that impetus of like, oh yeah, that is the Saw movie.
Yeah.
That is two people in a contained location, and you can scare. It's haunted house. It's all the stuff that I love.
Yeah.
It's mythology. I also love like foreign horror movies. Like anything that's got, even if it's Australian. Like, even
a little dig on Australia. Even if it's Australian,
but I don't mean that as a diss, but I mean, like, it's in English, but it's foreign still. And it's like, Irish horror and, African horror. Indian horror, as great as it needs a little, I feel like that's the one country that could make better horror movies.
Okay.
But, everything else, like the Koreans, like...
Sounds like a challenge.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I keep saying this, and everybody's like, "Oh,
Koreans! Oh my God, the Koreans knock it out of the park."
Yeah, Koreans, the Japanese, the Thai.
Yeah,
is that's why it's a challenge to the Indian filmmakers, because, and including myself, I could learn and get better. We have such great mythology.
Yeah.
That we should be making so much scarier stuff, and the world will need it up.
Yeah.
So that's the aim. But the idea with this is more like it was a challenge to like just do it as fast as possible.
Okay.
So
I had to finish it was how long?
It was like we shot it, and like by the time we had it ready was like about 3 months.
Okay.
So for me, that's pretty quick. Yeah, considering the kind of stuff that I do, because it was like we started prepping in around like July.
Okay.
We shot it at the end of August, and it was ready by the end of October.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
And we did all the translations, which was a whole other deal. Yeah. And the actors had to learn it. Plus, we had this animal mythology in it, which is like, I'm telling you, don't do it.
Yeah. Was it you don't work with children, animals, or I forget what the third one is, but
Idiots. Okay. But yeah, the donkey was tough to deal with. Great donkey, very charming donkey, but it just ate up a lot of the day, and it does what it wants to do.
yeah, well, especially a donkey, right?
Yeah, it's like Marlon Brando. he's just let him cut loose, and he doesn't want to read the cue cards. And so it took, we shot it over 3 days. Yeah, the prep for it was about a month and a half.
Okay.
All, finding the location, and kept pushing it just to make sure that the location worked and the actors could learn and learn the script and
How did that script take to write?
we actually wrote it pretty quickly. I would say about like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but we kept refining it after that. But about like, I would say 2 weeks.
Okay.
But then, because it was like unwieldy, it was like going. We had like a 1-page monologue at the end of it that Joseph was supposed to say, and then when we were doing the hour,
You want those monologues?
that you were doing the translation, and then the translator dropped getting too much into it, but he was definitely not going to last for too long.
I mean, you mentioned that on stage last night. It was you're a great presenter as well as a filmmaker, and I thought your delivery of just how that was clearly going to be a short amount of time you had to work with this gentleman.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I'm not going to get into it on recorded video, but yeah, it felt like there's a time limit to this.
Yes,
Because it's a very old language, and there's only a certain age of people that know that language. So so short amount of time. So we were like, that's why I called my co-producer and said, people are like, how the fuck up and make this move right now, because I don't think we're making it in Aramaic otherwise. So we did that, and then now the actors were learning the dialogues. The 1-page monologue at the end, which would take forever to translate, I was like, you know what, cut it. Let's just do it with a look. Yeah, like, great thing about movie making is like you learn less is more.
Yeah.
So don't give your Shakespeare soliloquies and stuff.
There's so much. The old phrase was the cutting room floor, and
Yes.
we the last short I did, we ended up having to do a pickup scene because there's a bridge piece missing when we finally finished it, and I was kind of on that time crunch, but we finished it shooting at the end of May. I really wanted to get it done in like a couple more months, and in August I was working on the edit. I had kind of finished it up, and I was like, there's just really something missing here, and we ended up shooting an extra little piece in September, little pickup day, and even that got like cut down to like, okay, we still needed it, but like, wow, like we're using 10% of what we shot.
Which is, I mean, the greatest lesson, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's that famous quote that if only I had more time, I would have written a shorter list. And like, it's so true. Like, just like the more because as you can see, if I was saying long-winded human beings, so I had taken a long time to write a short letter.
I mean, I think that's an extremely important factor. When you're looking at short filmmaking, you have a lot less time, and you've got to say as much or more than a feature.
Yeah.
And it's something a lot of people don't really understand. I'm amazed that was a 2 weeks script sprint, if you will. So if you don't mind talking, what was like putting it together and putting a budget together for this?
Yeah. So basically, we had a very limited budget, and we said, now we have to sell this period thing.
Yeah.
So we had scenes that were outside also, in the light. So we had to cut those scenes because that would have eaten well into the budget, because that means lights and all of that stuff. So we basically almost had to stage it like a play.
Okay.
But like a stage, not visually, but like we had to contain it.
Yeah.
So we couldn't cut a lot of scenes, because originally we had a lot of scenes going in and out.
Yeah.
So we made it all more like a little more linear than I would have liked.
I mean, I think that from what I know, that seemed to add to the horror, to the scary, the fact that, I'm not giving much away, but here that Yusuf ends up disappearing for a while, and you're just with Mary inside the barn. And he's outside or somewhere. There's that window scene, and just there's some stuff that was really like, I feel the fear and the claustrophobia and the anxiety from this level of trap, but also this is like the safe place, but like, and the safe place is like falling apart.
Yeah.
But it's clearly not safer outside. That was well done. I really like that.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's again came from the idea of like the old curse movies and stuff of like, you're safe in the house, don't let it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I loved the rules-based horror movie, like The Ring. I'm like, oh, 7 days and you're dead. Don't watch the videotape.
Yeah.
I thought they'd take that and throw it into this serious biblical story.
Yeah.
And almost like the Christmas Carol kind of thing. You're going to be visited by 3 ghosts tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that idea. And my cinematographer, Tommy Oshak, who's a wonderful man, great, but he's only very prickly to me, the prickly guy from Jersey. So he says it like it is. So anytime I have these grandiose ideas, he calls me on my bullshit and says, no, let's just do it some.
Yeah.
So me and him sit and like design the movie.
Yeah.
We were in constant dialogue, and he always hates it because he's more of a texter and I'm more of a annoy him on the phone. So he hates the getting my phone calls, but he sits there and he tolerates me, and he's an invaluable part of the whole process.
Awesome. I had a question. Was that all shot at night?
Yes.
Okay.
Except for that.
The sunset scene.
Yes.
Did you guys start at like 6 p.m. and go at 5 a.m. or like how did that work?
Yeah. So basically, the first day we loaded in at 3:30.
Okay.
Because it was in the summer. Yeah, and so there was a lot of daylight. So we were like, okay, let's finish the load in, which usually takes at least our team like 3 hours.
Yeah.
Just to efficiently like set it up. Plus we were in the middle of the desert in Lancaster. There was snakes and bats and shit. We were literally everywhere. Every time on the set, I was sitting on the floor with the monitor because I was like scared of the bats. There's some bats in the movie too. Like they make some cameos.
I'm trying to remember. I was so just caught in all the jumps and all the everything. I don't know that I recognized the bats, or maybe I thought you added them in or something like that.
The editor was like, "What's that shit moving around in the background?" I said, "That's bats. Those are bats. Leave it in." And she was just like, "Yeah, we can see this." So. And so we had like, it was it took the fighting against the nature of the desert and that location took time.
Yeah.
So, it was dusty and, but the lucky thing was our production designers, Sydney Horton and Allison Koss, they're very good at like finding a very inexpensive way of building the period.
Okay.
And they never at once were afraid of the challenge of doing a period movie with the budget of a monthly cell phone bill that I was giving up. And they pulled it off really well. And we said, you know what? And anything that has the seams in it,
yeah,
fuck it, we'll Blade Runner this shit and put some fog and cover it up.
I mean, I couldn't have told you whether that barn was Hainson or Neon. I'm sure they honestly probably built barns pretty similarly 2,000 years ago. It's a wooden structure with some hay in it, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, like we did a lot of research on the structure of what would have been in a barn at that time. That took a lot of research to find out because there's no like photos, obviously. It's more like I'm looking up photos of old barn. They're like, no photographers existed at that time, you moron. So I was like, okay. No, but it the stuff that would have been there helped make that barn creepy. Like the sheets.
Yeah.
Those are like almost like windbreakers that they would use back in the day, and the kind of the way the barns were set up, it's almost like to make parking lots because that's their mode of transportation.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
And so we found out what could work, and anything that didn't work, we didn't show it or we covered it with fog.
Okay. Let's talk about post-production. How long was post-production on that?
It was relatively quick. I mean, it's not like super quick, but relatively quick. Like I would say about 2 months.
Okay.
Like it was our editor Meng Fang. She's excellent. She also tolerates my nonsense, like kicking cats to the point. And my composer Thomas Joseph Peters, he is outstanding. Thomas J. Peters, he's very good.
I've been very interesting information from you because that was really well done.
Yeah. So me and him, it's another thing. I go and annoy him, and I sit there like a fucking vulture, like a gargoyle over his shoulder, and and we kind of figured it out. But he's such a positive human being that he's willing to go through the reiterations, and he's just such a true fan of all kinds of cinema that he's able to get to the emotion of what we're trying to find. I'm not like a musically inclined person, but I just know what sounds I want.
Okay, so it sounds like you kind of was there a level of at first you dropped it off with your editor, you dropped it off, and once they were done, you dropped it off with your composer and said, "Give me a first take," or was it you were there next to the editor the whole time? You were there next to the composer the whole time.
The editor, I let her kind of do her thing because she's following the storyboards.
Okay.
Because we storyboarded extensively.
Okay.
And anytime it's not according to the storyboards or like something happens on set and we kind of do something that's different, I just tell her what we generally did and give her the intention. But I let her like kind of do a cut because she'll always surprise me. Because I feel like she's got that knack of figuring it out. And like, so I'm not too oppressive with her.
Okay.
Because I feel like there was the storyboards to go off of.
Yeah.
And those intentions.
I'd be really bad about doing storyboards from my editor, Sarah. And if you're watching or listening to this, Sarah, thank you so much for dealing with that because you were awesome.
Sorry, Sam. Horrible directors. So with the music, I always feel like, like just kind of letting it pop up is not fair on the composer.
Okay.
Like making the composers come up with his version. It's just like, how is this going to blend with the cutting rhythm?
Did you do like a temp track or?
So we did 1 or 2 temp tracks at the start and we exported. We actually were doing a lot of like Barry Lyndon type music at the start, and which sounded great. Like when I heard it, I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. That's exactly what I wanted the movie to sound like. And we kind of designed the shots to that. And then when we played it after we edited, we were like, I don't know, this is too nice.
Yeah,
this is too like epic, but nice.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, what was the intention that I wanted to do when I started off? The death metal nativity.
Yeah.
And I was like, how does a death metal album start? So I told him, and he had scrapped the whole score.
Yeah.
Then we had to go again because I was just like, no, we're gonna approach it like death metal meets The Witch meets Suspiria meets The Omen.
Okay.
So those were, I mean, every movie we do, I always say The Omen is the North Star, Suspiria is its little like ugly step sibling, and they're always there. Okay. Like the rest we kind of mess around, a little bit of Under the Skin, a little bit of something else like The Witch, whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's always The Omen and Suspiria.
Okay.
So we redid it and we kept the propulsive nature of it.
Yeah.
The rock, the death metalness.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing a punk rock movie, but via death metal. And our sound designer, Colin Lechner, was a genius. I mean, this man, he's going to win an Oscar at some point.
Okay.
It is guaranteed. He's working on some other stuff, and he's excellent. Like the sound in the Cinequest screening, I was like, I've now hearing things that I didn't even hear before.
Right.
And I've seen this so many times.
In 5.1 or 8.1 or?
This is in 5.1.
Okay.
And Colin absolutely knocked it out of the park. And
yeah,
he has like animal sounds coming from like Colin.
Yeah.
And he's got baby cries.
Yeah. The baby stuff was like, it was well timed and well put in. That was some of the creepiest and like most visceral aspect because of course she's pregnant and you're expecting horror, but so at certain points I was like, is this going to be okay? No, never mind. It's the exact opposite I was expecting. Oh my God. But yeah, that was really well done.
Thank you. Yeah. And it, again, like we planned that just like how we planned the shots, like the framing and the composing. We plan the sound effects like it's written there in bold in the script.
Like it.
Hear the tightening of a noose.
Okay.
The smack of a donkey.
Yeah.
Like the hooves of a rock being picked up. Like we're very specific with that.
Okay.
And then Colin takes that and just works his magic and says, maybe it's not a rock, Ramon. Maybe it should be a squealing pig. And the way he explained it, he come with something else, and then I'm like, that is way creepier.
Okay.
So he just builds and goes off on his own
Yeah.
mad train, and so he's absolutely, I'd say MVP of this.
Awesome. Well, what I know it's just, is this premiere at Cinequest? Is it world premiere?
Yeah, technically premiere. We did some test screenings at other places.
About the same thing as a premiere.
Yeah.
So this is the beginning of your festival circuit.
Yeah.
Are you going on to other festivals after this?
Yes, we're going to be in a place called Panic Fest, which is in Kansas City, which is a very, very renowned genre festival. It's like it's a wild place, and it's run by some wonderful people, and they have it in this great theater called Screamland Armor, where all the best genre stuff just comes, and it's like the perfect venue for like horror, sci-fi, action, thriller. And yeah, that's coming up.
Very cool. Once it's done, is this a proof of concept, or is this just a one and done? You're gonna put it out there, put it on one of the horror channels, or is this turning into a series or a feature?
So the whole reason was it to be a feature.
Okay.
So we made it as a proof of concept to test, like, hey, how ridiculous is this?
I would say, for my own personal opinion, and I think the response of the audience last night, I think you've hit a note. I think there's a lot of room for biblical horror out there. Honestly, inspired me as the entire rest of the night as I was going to bed. I was like, all I can think about is, what stories could we tell us like biblical horror? That's amazing. It's not really a thing people have done, but it would resonate. I mean, we'll get a lot of shit. And speaking of which, I did want to ask about that. As someone who's also about to put my feet into a biblical fire, has there been pushback? Has there been negative responses? Because this is clearly a not so nice take on something that happens in a religious standpoint that is popular with a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds more blasphemous than it really is.
Yeah.
And of course, there's a scene in this movie, and that scene where, like, where we could lose some people. But I mean, I don't want to give away too much, but there's a scene that can lose some people. But if you get through the movie, I don't think you're gonna have the same opinion. It's like the whole the idea of the violence against women thing.
Yeah.
That was the threat. I'm like, that's what the movie is about.
Yeah.
It's called Virgin. There's a reason it's called Virgin. And you have to build to that. My theory in horror is, I always feel like horror works best on a 2-act structure, not a 3-act structure.
Okay.
Because that's why the short stories are way better than novels.
Yeah.
So it's scarier because the first 2 acts is the build, and mystery, and then it's over.
Yeah.
In a short story. Whereas in a long narrative, the 3rd act is like an action movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you lose the scare, you lose the mystery.
Yeah.
So I was like, but you still have to wrap it up somehow. So I decided with this movie that it needs to turn from a supernatural horror movie into a domestic violence human story.
Okay.
And that is still horrific.
Yeah.
But it combats that problem of the supernatural horror movie that devolves into an action movie of the last.
Yeah. I feel like, as somebody who loves horror, I absolutely loved it. As somebody who was not particularly tied to any of my religions growing up, I don't know what others would say, but it feels very, in a horror movie sense, fairly true to the story in the first place. And my hope is that you get just a huge buy-in. And I know the horror crowd, for the most part, is going to love it. So I wish you the best of luck with that. I can't wait to see. Hopefully this does turn into your feature. I want to see that.
We're doing now, so it's not.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah.
So have you found funding already?
So yeah, we've got a decent amount of the funding. We need more, but like, I feel like we're trudging along pretty well. It's still early days because of we just literally we finished it.
Yeah, you premiered it last night.
Yeah. So, but we'll make sure that I feel good that in the direction of where it's heading.
Awesome.
Right now.
Last thing I wanted to ask you about it was the actors. How did you go about finding those actors? Because I think they did a fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, they're phenomenally talented. Herman, the actor who played Joseph, he actually auditioned for a previous movie, Scary Need Wedding. And I think he was busy at the time when we were actually shooting or something. I don't know why it didn't work out, but it didn't. But I remembered him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think that guy has the face.
Okay.
He's got the death metal Joseph's look.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to make. Because the biblical story could have been the nice Roman painting. And I always see that almost like a John Ford version of the Western. And then I was like, no, but I want the Sergio Leone biblical story. I want the dirt and the dust and the grit. I want that Eli Wallach and Lee Van Cleef and Charles Bronson kind of look. So Herman definitely has those qualities. I didn't want sorry for the language. I didn't want no soft dick jokes. And so he was great for that. And then Jessica was actually worked on another movie with my co-producer Anna Leah, who Anna Leah's she's going to be the next kind of Cecile will be Daniil kind of, not Cecile Daniil, what's that cat? Louis B. Mayer. Yeah. She big, she's got her hands in everything. She will figure it out. I feel she's going to be a good big producer. She had worked with Jessica on another movie, and she said, "Hey, let's why don't you just try Jessica?" And it just so worked out that she is from that region, like heritage-wise.
Okay. Yeah.
And she could speak in Arabic. So Arabic and Aramaic have some similarities. Not she still had to learn Aramaic,
right?
But it has some similarities. And I could tell from her audition tape. As soon as I saw her, I made her do the script in Arabic, not in Aramaic first, just because okay, that, just let me out sound.
Yeah.
And she delivered such a great tape.
Yeah.
That I was like, yeah, that's it. I think it was the fewest people that we were auditioning. I mean, I did auditioned a few people, but I was I saw the tape and I was like, no, that's it.
Yeah.
This is done. This is it.
Do you have to do chemistry tests or anything like that? Or they just kind of...
We did from rehearsal to make sure, I was like, visually, what is this going to look like?
Yeah.
And they were happy that, we're portraying what looked like the authentic from that area face and race.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted, like the Sergio Leone approach to it. So that's how we found both of them. And then our costume designer, Bonnie, her really good friend is this girl named Katie Lynn Stoddard. And she played the beast, the devil.
Gotcha. Okay.
And she's just great with all the movements. And I just wanted somebody who could slink in and out and look like it could be a bit slinking. It could be the devil or it could be just some psycho standing outside.
Yeah.
So I wanted that quality. And she's an amazing actress. I can't wait to work with her on something else because, and in a different role, like something where we can actually see her face.
Yeah. Well, either way, she's... she can either slink or she can be on camera.
Oh, yeah. She was outstanding. So patient. 3 days was just standing in that crazy heavy getup.
Yeah.
And not complaining with all the snakes and bats and all of that. Good for her.
Well, it's been a fantastic little conversation today. I know it's a little bit shorter than I don't know how much shorter this is than normal. I end up paying attention to the time. I love just going as far as we can, but I do have to wrap it up. So last thing I like to do is have you give our audience some sage words of advice, anything about the future of filmmaking or your filmmaking. Lay it on us.
I mean, from what I've learned, I still have so much to learn and just can't wait to learn more. I just think that age-old adage of all the directors always saying, just go make a movie.
Yeah.
I think it's true. It's ridiculous how often that's said, but just go make it remember the limitations of what you have, right to that limitation, because you don't want to think I'm going to make Gladiator and yet you have an office building. You're like, he's going to look stupid. Then don't have him fool yourself.
Yeah.
Because I have fooled myself and it hasn't worked out. So right to the limitation. And if you sit there for long enough, forcing yourself to think of how do I make this office room a movie, you will come up with it. If you have a creative bone in your body, which most people do, you will come up with it. And the other thing I would say is hire good people, and whatever level you're working on, find the right people to collaborate with. Don't be an asshole. Don't hire assholes. It's like life's too short. The movie making is hard enough. Even if they're talented, but they're gonna ruin the chemistry of the set, don't hire them.
Okay.
Because I've seen a lot of people put through a lot of pain because of one person's bad attitude.
Yeah.
And I would say if you kind of mix those two, because movie making is hard enough and you're making it on very little money, don't let an asshole come and ruin it for you.
Sure. Well, so keep a good vibe on set, even if it's a stressed out set, you're probably getting a good product, right?
Yes. And treat everybody equally. Because no one is bigger than the other person. The PA is just as important as the actor. The sound guy is just as important as the cinematographer. There's that one great saying, I forgot who said it, but it's a big director, I know this. He said that everybody, when we're filming a shot, everybody needs to peak at the same time, and then the take is good. So if you think of movie making in that attitude, the sound guy has to get it right. The light flickering has to be right. The production design has to work. The actor has to hit the right emotion. Everybody is important. So if you think of it like that, I think you would treat everybody equally.
But fuck the ducky.
Fuck it all. Fuck an asshole.
Well, Ramon, thank you so much for joining us today. Folks, you heard it here. Go see Virgin. I'll send some links in here. If by the time you're listening to this, you have already, this is maybe already theaters or on a show or on a platform somewhere, go take a look at it. And Ramon Menon, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. You're the best.
Absolutely.
This has been another episode of The Shortcut Podcast. If you're listening early enough, you can find Ramon's film Virgin playing on the festival circuit, and if it's been a while since you tuned in, you may instead be looking for his next scary short film, or perhaps a biblically irreverent feature film based on this proof of concept. I'd like to thank our friends at Cinequest for providing us with the opportunity to bring you this episode, and I'd like to thank you, the audience, for tuning in. My name is Christopher Lee Denise. You can find me on Instagram and other social media as @LocalCinematic, on YouTube as The Local Cinematic, and in real life, wherever great films are being screened. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.